Ever since Ty Beard was featured on Nick Rocketta's live stream, the entire landscape of Vic Mignogna and the sexual allegations against him have been completely changed in the idea that now Jamie Marchi, Jessie Pridemore, Monica Rial, and all those that have been pointing the finger at Vic Mignogna seem to have taken now a different stance, being that they understand Ty Beard and his law firm are now going in full effect in issuing out lawsuits and having to take these individuals to courts. We have some interesting comments being made by Jamie Marchi, Toye, and many of those individuals that were accusing Vic Mignogna of being the monster that he was, alongside the backlash that the fandom is facing in having to simply ask questions and challenging the stances of the individuals accusing Vic Mignogna of said actions, only for them to be talked down to, looked down upon, called dogs, and ridiculed over on Twitter, as we're going to be taking a look at some of the comments made from the individuals on the other side of the aisle in connection to Vic Mignogna and those who support him. As once more, before we begin, if you guys are new to this channel and of course love anime and Dragon Ball, alongside want to be up to date with all the latest involving Vic Mignogna, Monica Rial, Jamie Marchi, Toye, and the entire situation, then be sure to go on ahead and punch that subscribe button and turn on all notifications to never miss a single upload and to be up to date with all latest news and information, along with checking out and subscribing to my primary channel, Unreal and Gaming, where on there we are going to be covering lots of Dragon Ball content, anime, and gaming, so make sure you guys go on ahead and check that channel out over there, alongside following me on Twitter at Unreal and Gaming for all the latest updates, including if you guys have any articles and or pictures to tag me in or share with me, be sure to go on ahead and follow me on Twitter. As we kick things off with Jamie Marchi over on Twitter having to put out a very interesting statement in regards to sexual assault and where she stands, as Jamie Marchi went on to state, and I quote, "Did you know that if you have been sexually assaulted, you can remain entirely anonymous? Police are legally able to remove your name from the police report before giving it to the prosecution, thus protecting your identity from public record. The Violence Against Women Act created a federal rape shield law protecting identities as well as their sexual history and conduct from being introduced as evidence in court. Victims of sexual assault can also claim anonymity. There have been so many cases that have hit headlines where victims of sexual assault have remained anonymous. For example, the very famous case where convicted rapist Brock Turner received only 3 months of jail for his crime. His victim had remained completely anonymous, only referred to as Emily Doe. She even remained anonymous after being named of one of the Glamour's 2016 Women of the Year after her victim impact statement in court was released. All of this is to say, if you are a victim of sexual assault, you don't have to face the onslaught of harassment faced by me and many others. You do not have to fear going public. You can remain completely anonymous. Victims of other, lesser crimes can also remain anonymous in the safety as they risk. Please do not stay silent. You do not have to go public. Contact a criminal lawyer in your area. Immediately reach out for help. Numerous nonprofits can advocate for you, as well as SCESA. Keep donating to the GoFundMe, which I disagree with, but okay. RAIN, NAESV, and more can help you report and stay anonymous. Know you are supported by many. We stand by you and want justice for you." As she continues, "As for me, after defending/retelling my story hundreds of times, I've said all I can. At this point, it's up to each individual to decide what they believe, and they have. There's too much good in my life to spend any more time trying to change minds. I do not want fighting the dark recesses of the internet to be the top of my resume. More importantly, I do not want any more fans, supporters, and friends, newfound and otherwise, to continue suffering for me. I will spend no more time engaging the trolls, the malicious, and chaotic evil. I have officially given it up for Lent. I encourage you to do the same. Let blocking be a blessing. To be clear, I have spent too many years finding my voice to be intimidated into silence now. I will continue fighting. I am choosing to spend Lent focus on the important voices, not simply the loudest ones. We may not always agree on tactics, but I do what I do to help people. If I ever caused any disappointment or pain with my approach to the aggression and hate I have received, know that that was never my intent." As of course she goes on to continue, "For the fans, and I mean all the fans that are confused and struggling right now, my heart goes out to you, and I am sympathetic to your pain. I am very sorry that this community is hurting. None of us wanted this. Meanwhile, you were the one that called for it, but okay. Change is never easy, but in this case, it's for the best. Let's move forward, championing for each other and protecting everyone. Cosplay is not consent. silence is not consent. Assuming consent is not consent. Please look out for each other, please step up for each other, be the voice for people who need it, and let the people be a voice for you when you need it. Thank you to everyone who has stepped up in your support for me publicly and privately. I love you more than you know. You are the reason I am able to stand strong and endure. I am forever grateful. There are so many contradictories in this statement. Number one, you are trying to look after people, meanwhile you called for the literal beheading of someone, including his balls be handed on a plate just because he, quote, sexually assaulted you without any evidence. And in the beginning of this statement, it's very clear that Jamie goes on to state that you don't have to be someone with empirical evidence to convict someone of a sexual assault and or crime, which is wrong. So now what you're basically insinuating is that anyone can go anonymous, anyone can accuse anybody of doing something wrong, and just because someone accuses someone else of a sexual misconduct and or sexual assault act, they're automatically going to be labeled and demonized in the public just because the victim had claimed so. So if I feel like you shook my hand a bit too tight, or maybe your palms were a little bit sweaty as I was shaking your hand, am I going to classify that as something of a misconduct from you? Am I going to feel uncomfortable from your handshake? Is your handshake to me going to be classified as a sexual misconduct and or sexual assault? Am I going to scream sexual assault just by simply having to shake your hand and thus feeling uncomfortable while doing so, just because I felt in my own feelings that you had some sort of malicious intent in having to view me as a possible sexual object? No, that's completely wrong. Whatever happened to the day and age where we need DNA evidence, photographic evidence, video evidence, empirical evidence, testimonies with evidence to convict someone of said crimes? For example, when we go back and looking at Bill Cosby, R. Kelly, Harvey Weinstein, there was empirical evidence, video proof, pictures. You had people that were there. We had DNA samples. We had so much empirical evidence to convict these people for their actions. But here we have the simple he say, she say, and that's all you need in the court of law to convict someone of being an absolute monster. You're not trying to help anybody. You are the one going around silencing people and blocking them, as you made perfectly clear, for having to challenge you on an intellectual stance. So just because I ask you a question automatically means that I'm harassing you in some way, shape, or form? No, that's completely wrong. If someone is calling you out, doxing you, threatening your family, threatening you, then yes, that's harassment. But if someone is asking a question as to your story, as to your stance, as to, having to recall the events of what happened involving you and said individual, how is that harassment? And I want to get your thoughts in the comment section below about this, because Jamie's statement is full of holes. I do agree on helping each other, speaking for each other, but only if it's objective. You can't go based on your own feelings and then having to further that narrative and expecting people to believe your story without any form of empirical evidence. However, it doesn't stop there, as Chamber of Hearts went on to tweet out a very interesting post, as it goes on to read, and I quote, "Anyone have an archive link to this person's tweet accusing Vic? I want it, please, and thank you." Now, what this basically shows here are the statements recalled by this individual that goes by the name of Dragon Essa 007, as she goes on to claim, and I quote, "I had to really dig to find this, but this was at ColossalCon 2017. Vic is practically humping me in this photo and held my arms really tight. Looking back, I looked admittedly mildly psycho, but that's just because I was caught between fangirling and super uncomfortable. Hashtag KickVic." Now, of course, she claims that Vic was humping her and holding her arms very, very tight, but according to Chamber of Hearts over on Twitter, she goes on to post, and I quote, "Looky what I found here. What are these? Hashtag IStandWithVic, hashtag KickVic. You sure seem pretty damn close to me with these other people." Of course, as we see her, this same individual, having to stand next to actors and actresses and voice actors and whatnot, but it continues, as Chamber of Hearts goes on to post, "One more batch. Google images are not your friend. There's this one from your own freaking Twitter. You want to try your claim here again?" And in that same picture, what do we see? We see Dragon Essa and Vic Mignogna hugging. This time, it's face to face. And of course, she doesn't feel uncomfortable there. So what makes Vic Mignogna any different than the people that she had taken pictures with before? Again, as you can see, it doesn't make any sense. She's claiming that Vic Mignogna was basically humping her from behind. Now, if that were to be the case, then the testimony testimony of the cameraman having to be there since he was the one that took the picture would testify against this, would he not? And all the other people that were on the same line waiting for Vic Mignogna that very same day, just like you, would have came out and stating that, of course, yes, Vic Mignogna had conducted himself in a very inappropriate manner, but no one came out to say anything, no one did anything about it. So either that or you're simply lying, because the photos do show this individual with various different people over on Chamber of Hearts' Twitter, hugging people, having to be face to face with people, but all of a sudden, when this hashtag comes out and the KickVic movement engages, she wants to be a part of that and having to state, well, yeah, he came up behind me, he hugged me tight, he held my arms really, really close. Was he holding you against your will? Absolutely not. So again, I leave this in your guys' hands. I want to get your thoughts down below as to how you guys personally feel about this. I'm going to end this video off with a clip from Necroketta's live stream. Of course, I do encourage you guys to check out his channel, and I want to get your thoughts in the comment section below about the entire situation involving Vic, involving Jamie, involving Jessie, involving every individual that you can possibly think of in this scenario, and I want to get your feedback down below, everybody. Thank you all so much for watching. Once more, if you guys are new to the channel, hit that subscribe button, everybody. Turn on all notifications, tune back in for more, and without wasting any more time, let's go on ahead and jump right into the clip.
Let's get something out of the way right now. Let's get something out of the way right now. I never named him. I never named him. I can't be sued for defamation because I have never named him. Listen, Toots, here's the problem. You don't have to name someone to make a defamatory statement. All you have to do is make a statement that could identify the person with some degree of certainty. They just have to be identifiable from the statement. Here's your problem. Todd, which this one doesn't matter so much. Todd, it doesn't matter if he knew who you were talking about. It really does matter that Adam knew exactly who you were talking about. Adam knew who you were talking about, which means that when you say that this voice actor that I will not name, but Adam clearly knows who it is because he's aware of the whole situation and was there for a good chunk of it, you've now told Adam that Todd Haberkorn raped you, because Adam would know beyond any doubt exactly who you're talking about. Can you be sued for telling Adam that Todd Haberkorn raped you? Yes! Unless he raped you, you can be sued, and not only can you be sued, but you will lose devastatingly unless you can prove that he actually raped you. You can't do this. If you were raped, why didn't you go to the cops? I know, it's so rude and evil to suggest that people engage in the law enforcement system because for some reason, they will take people saying, why didn't you go to the cops, as evidence that they shouldn't go to the cops because of the shame. No, we desperately want you to go to the cops if you were raped. Oh my God. We all want rapists put away, behind bars, gone from society, because we have sisters, daughters, mothers, grandmothers for the real weird ones. We have all of that, and we want rapists gone. How on earth can you say, they told me to go to the cops, they must not want me to come forward? No, we definitely want you to come forward, you idiot. We definitely want you to go to the cops and follow the process that is there and designed to put people who rape people in prison. Oh my God, do it. But you didn't, did you? You didn't. Instead, you thought you could backhand slander someone. Libel, I guess, because you wrote it. But I'm guessing you told other people about it too. But here's the thing. The moment that you made him identifiable to a third party, and that's Adam, defamation, you're done. The case is embarrassingly bad for you. Embarrassingly bad. Right now, it's your word that you blacked out and he raped you after that. And I mean, just imagine sitting on the stand and them saying, now, when did he start raping you? I don't know. I blacked out. So you don't remember? Well, what part of the night do you remember? What part of the night do you remember? Where does your memory end? How much did you have to drink that night? That's your side of the story. His side of the story is, we engaged in consensual sex. After we engaged in consensual sex, we carried on a conversation via direct messages. Oh my God, sweetie, you are in a world of hurt. You can't just ruin people's lives and careers. You can't do it. You can't. It stops. It stops. And you're stirring up the wrong hornet's nest. Hornet's nest? Can't even talk. I can't even talk. So angry about this stuff. Let's not say you're falsely accusing him of rape. Let's say you're accusing him of a rape that you have no ability to prove. You don't even have evidence of it because you didn't go to the police, the one place that could have collected that evidence, the one place that could have heard your story. Oh, I heard years later that it was rape. Well, years later, were you remembering it correctly? Were you remembering your blackout drunk session correctly years later? Or were you remembering it incorrectly because you were blackout drunk, it's years later, and you already admitted he treated you like garbage, which means you probably don't like him. I don't know how any lawyer could start making a case against you because I'm a fake attorney, right? But I have some pretty good ideas of exactly how the arguments would go. It's not a game anymore. You came after a man's money. You came after a man's reputation. And you came after a man's life. Now, it's time to put up or shut your stupid mouths. We would all love for you to put up a shred of proof. But that proof now, because you were so stupid in the beginning, because you were so adamant about destroying someone, now that proof is going to come with the legal process, and you're going to have to sit under oath and answer every single question. And oh my God, you better have good answers, or those pants are dropping and you're getting bent over, and you know it.